So in my Swampert video, I was quite mean to Ludicolo. As a result, here I am today to film a video with it to see if it can maybe win me over. At the start of the game, I decide to play as the female character rather than the male character, and that's going to be relevant later on. I'll explain, don't worry. After that, I nicknamed my Ludicolo Mirror B, after the boss from the Pokemon Stadium games. I've never played them myself, but I hear that he's quite annoying to defeat. And being annoying to defeat is the entire reason that I said I hated Ludicolo. Honestly, this thing just seems so strong. It isn't particularly weak to common types, like it is weak to bug, flying, and poison types. But thinking about that, Generation 3 feels like poison type was sort of demoted. It's not nearly as prominent as it was in Generation 1 and 2. Poison types are everywhere in those games. In this game though, it seems like dark types sort of took poison's place. Right away at the beginning, Ludicolo starts with 4 moves: Astonish, Growl, Absorb, and Nature Power, and it learns no new moves through level up because it's a Stone Evolution Pokemon. Honestly though, this starting set is pretty great. Absorb provides recovery, Astonish can flinch, and Nature Power turns into Swift on neutral terrain, so that's a great way to attack consistently. I do forget though that when I'm in grass, it turns into Stun Spore, so here I'm using it and hoping that it's going to turn into Swift, but yeah, it just doesn't, so oh well. Now, Ludicolo is sort of a pond-dwelling Pokemon, and ponds are pretty shallow, like its move pool. However, it is from Generation 3, so it has good type diversity on its side. Focus Punch, Water Pulse, Toxic, Hail, Bullet Seed, Hidden Power, Sunny Day, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Hyper Beam, Protect, Rain Dance, Giga Drain. I'm realizing as I read all these moves that nearly every move on its set is useful in some way. So let's look at some standouts. First is Bullet Seed, which can be obtained in the early game, and it's a great grass-type move that gets the same type attack bonus. Ice Beam is great because it covers Ludicolo's weakness to flying types. Rain Dance activates both of its abilities, which are either Swift Swim or Rain Dish. Giga Drain for more recovery, Brick Break for Sydney's team, and Surf as reliable stab water damage. Today I've also included some of the moves that it learns through Move Tutor. Note, I've left out any of the ones that would be obtained from the Battle Tower because I won't have access to those today. Now let's review Ludicolo's stats. It has 80 HP, 70 attack, 70 defense, 90 special attack, 100 special defense, and 70 speed. In my Swampert video, my choice of Nature was criticized because it lowered my speed, and many of you said that lowering speed in a solo challenge just doesn't make sense. So let's break down the logic and examine which nature might be good for Ludicolo. Speed is a peculiar stat because excess just doesn't help. You only need to outspeed the opponent, and after that, investment here is superfluous. In a playthrough of the game, the player has 2 advantages over the AI, being that you get a badge boost, raising your speed by 10% after you defeat Watson, and your Pokemon accumulates effort values, or EVs, which the opponent's Pokemon don't have access to. Those 2 reasons are why I decided to use a Sassy Swampert. So today I wanted to make sure that I didn't make that same mistake again. To check, I compared Ludicolo's base speed to all the other Pokemon in Generation 3. Here are the notable Pokemon on major trainers' teams that Ludicolo is outsped by: Claydol, Absol, Altaria, Glalie, Gyarados, Milotic, Kingdra, Luvdisc, Linoone, Slacking. Yes, this thing has 100 base speed. Manectric, which only has 5 more base speed than Slacking, and Tentacruel. Because of how the type matchups work here, I think that Ludicolo is actually going to be fine with speed. Boosting defensive stats doesn't make sense at all, and so I'm going to go with a Rash Nature to boost my special attack and lower my special defense. Boosting the offensive stat makes more sense because I'm going to be more likely to KO and avoid damage entirely. Also, Ludicolo's special defense is absurd, so having it a bit lower is totally fine. Still, I am new to these games, so let me know what you think about this choice in the comments. For Hidden Power, I choose Hidden Power Dark so that all my stats are perfect, and this is also going to be useful against Tate and Liza and Phoebe. In my last video, I was frustrated by the spinning trainers, but I'm getting much better at this now. I'll explain how to do it. When the trainer's facing the direction that allows you to get by them, open your bag. Then press B twice, once to close the bag and once to close the menu, and then immediately walk past them. Remember not to hold down B, because if you run, they're going to catch you. It actually takes less frames to start walking. I'm really not perfect at this yet, but I did manage to get by all the trainers in the forest, and it felt really good. Outside of the flower shop, I stop and talk to this NPC, and he gives me the TM for Bullet Seed, which is going to be a fantastic move for Ludicolo to use. After that, I grab some berries, pick up a hidden potion, grab some Lepa berries for my PP, buy repels, and obtain the HM for cut. With all that out of the way, I head over to the Pokemon gym. I'm going to skip all the optional trainers in here today and go straight for Roxanne. I think that Ludicolo can do it. She opens with Geodude, and I've taught Ludicolo Bullet Seed. I'm hoping that this multi-hit move will give me the damage that I need to win, even though I'm starting the fight at only level 8. My first hit with Bullet Seed is doing a lot of damage, and that gives me hope. It even hits enough times to knock the Geodude out, which causes Ludicolo to level up twice. That makes the second Geodude even easier, and now I've made it all the way to Roxanne's ace, Nose Pass. I go for Bullet Seed, it hits only twice, giving Roxanne one turn, and then my next Bullet Seed hits 4 times and knocks it out. So that was a really easy first badge. Well done, Ludicolo. You deserve to be as happy as you are. On Route 16, there's an interesting interaction between these two spinning trainers. If they both spot you, then it initiates a double battle. However, if one spots you or you talk to one, then you have to only do single battles instead. Alternatively, I can use the bag trick here to just skip both of them. There's also a potential double battle here, and I can just bag trick this so that it's only a single battle. I know right now I don't have any HM mules, so these would be single battles anyways, but I want to skip as many trainers as possible just to see how low a level Ludicolo can make it through these sections of the game. Also, if I can get through certain sections of the game on minimum battles, it will save time. I rescue Pico, skip the optional rival battle, and head back through the forest. Here, I'm going to catch HM mules because I want access to cut right now. By clearing these trees, I can grab the Miracle Seed, which gives a 10% boost to all grass-type moves. This is going to be great for Ludicolo. It's just going to make him even more happy. You can put the little seed in like his hat or something. After taking a quick trip on a boat, I catch myself a Bruno, deliver Steven's letter, and head into the gym to face Brawley. He leads with Machop. I go for Bullet Seed, and it does hit 5 times, but each hit is not doing very much. I only got Machop down under half health. Seismic Toss does 1/3 to me, and my next Bullet Seed just barely doesn't KO. That lets Machop fittingly use a Karate Chop before Brawley heals it with a Super Potion at the start of the next turn. As a kid, this fight was always so frustrating just because of his Super Potions. If he didn't have these, I think this battle would be significantly less challenging. Either way, it doesn't matter because Ludicolo knocks the Machop out without it dealing any more damage. Meditite's next, and its only damage dealing move is Focus Punch. Because of this, I can just use Absorb and knock it out for free while healing myself. That gives me green health for Makuhita. I go for Bullet Seed, and one of them does crit, but even after 5 hits, I still haven't done much damage. That's really annoying. Its Vital Throw takes Ludicolo back to orange, and then it heals with a Citrus Berry. The next Vital Throw takes Ludicolo to 2 hit points, and so yeah, I'm gonna have to do this fight again. In the next fight, Bullet Seed doesn't get as much luck against the Machop, and so it's able to take me down. Since I'm 1 level under the damage rounding threshold, I head back into the gym and face a couple trainers to level up. While doing these fights, I'll just note that my game time in the top left has been a bit messed up over the last section of the game due to a software error I was having while filming. Since the only way to record game time accurately is to do it while I'm playing, I couldn't fix it in post. But do notice that I was able to revert my software to an earlier version and correct it from here on out. Now, let's try Brawley again. Bullet Seed is doing more damage now, but because it's a multi-hit move, it's quite inconsistent. Also, the Machop is still doing so much damage, so I'll need a few more levels. Maybe at level 18 or level 20, this might be possible. So there aren't a lot of trainers on the island. I'm going to need to go somewhere else to level up. I can get Mr. Briny to take me to the beach at Slateport City and do additional training here. By the way, Nature Power selects Earthquake when it's used on the beach, so I give Ludicolo the soft sand to boost its damage and make this training as fast as possible. I'll do a little bit more training here as well and defeat the Aqua Grunts in the museum, and then I make my way back to Brawley to try the fight one more time. Bullet Seed is doing a lot more damage now, and because I've leveled up, Brawley can clearly see that his damage output won't be as good, so he uses Bulk Up first turn with Machop. This gives me a second turn to use Bullet Seed and knock out the Machop without taking any damage. Obviously, the Meditite that follows is free because it only has Focus Punch, so now the only Pokemon that I have to manage is the Makuhita. Unfortunately, it heals with a Citrus Berry and knocks Ludicolo out. Alright, so I can skip Brawley until after Flannery, and I think that's probably going to be the best choice. I don't want to waste any more time here. I will mention briefly why I was spending so much time trying to beat Brawley, and that's because the fear of Watson is starting to build. Ludicolo doesn't have access to any moves that are going to be particularly strong against his Magneton. Well, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's getting a little bit ahead of myself. First, I have to defeat Brendan before Mauville City. If you remember back to the beginning of the video, I said that I picked the female character for a specific reason, and that's because Brendan's team here is much easier to defeat than May's team, especially in the case of Swampert or other water types. Unfortunately, Ludicolo doesn't actually get any water moves for a very long time, so it's kind of annoying that he starts with Slugma. Still, it isn't an issue for me to knock out. Next is Wingull, and it's also pretty easy because it takes neutral damage from Bullet Seed. Last is Grovyle, and here I'm pretty lucky. So the reason is because when I started battling Brendan, I was standing on regular ground and not grass. This way, Nature Power will roll Swift, and I can take it out in 2 turns. So that was an easy rival fight, and in Wally City, I get another easy battle against Wally. Now, many of you commented on my Swampert video that I really shouldn't skip too much training in Generation 3 because of how these games' designs have evolved and improved from Generation 1 and 2. So instead of heading straight for Watson, who I'm quite scared for as I mentioned before, I'm going to go do some battles against trainers that I'll probably run into later on anyways. I might as well get the experience now. I finish off this training by battling the Wind Straits and earning myself the Macho Brace. Now, let's give Watson a try. For this fight, I've given Ludicolo the Cherry Berry so that it can heal paralysis when it occurs. After all, the Magneton, who I expect to have a long battle against, knows both Thunderwave and Supersonic, so I want to minimize the effects of these status conditions as much as possible. To get there though, I have to make it through his Voltorb and Electrike. Turns out they're both pretty easy, and I take them both out without dropping very much health. Okay, now it's time for the Magneton. So how much will Bullet Seed do? After all, Magneton resists it. Unfortunately, it's doing very little, like a little bit less than I was expecting. I wanted more than this, like come on. I think that I'm going to have to get 5 hits with each Bullet Seed and some crits thrown in there well, just to be able to beat this thing. Needless to say, the Magneton takes me out on my first attempt. Okay, let's do some more training. After all, I didn't face all the gym trainers yet. With them out of the way, I head west and fight trainers along this route, clearing the path for when I backtrack later after Flannery. I can also grab the black glasses now, which will help boost the damage of Hidden Power Dark when I end up using it. Let's try Watson again. Bullet Seed crits on the Voltorb and takes it down in 4 hits, so that was just a single turn, nice. Electrike's next, I use Bullet Seed once again, and it 4 hits for the knockout. So that's pretty much the best luck I could have asked for going into the Magneton. It uses Thunderwave turn 1, but my Cherry Berry heals the paralysis. Unfortunately, the damage to this thing just hasn't improved very much. It's persistent with its Thunder Waves, so now I won't be able to get rid of the status, and additionally, it stacks on Supersonic, so Ludicolo is in a really bad place. Alright, Watson, you're a serious threat, I'll give you that. I think I see why they gave the Swampert line the ground typing, because it really helps here. There are still some trainers that I haven't faced yet, so I'll backtrack and take care of them. But the number of available fights is starting to get really low. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get by Watson at level 33. Here's the thing, sometimes Bullet Seed is amazing and it takes his Pokemon out in a single turn, and other times it rolls a low number of hits and they survive and are allowed to do something. As someone who really loves consistency, I don't particularly like this move. However, it's the best that I have right now. This time I managed to get the Magneton all the way down to red health, but then Watson uses a Super Potion. Come on! I even managed to take it back down to red and knock it out. However, Ludicolo has taken way too much, so the Ace Manectric finishes me off on the next turn. Alright, it's starting to make sense to knock out Pokemon in the wild now. And I've also equipped the Macho Brace so that Ludicolo is getting the max amount of EVs per battle. I could focus on training just a single stat, but at this point I think it's fastest just to knock everything out and improve all my stats. After I finished off all the training and all the trainers, I'm still not level 35. I'm not even level 34. So I head back to Mr. Briny on the beach because now I should be able to defeat Brawley. Machop is first, I go for Bullet Seed and takes it out in only 2 hits because of a crit. Meditite's next, and yeah, it's going to be free, but it does have a chance to set up Light Screen. I switch into Absorb, hoping that it'll knock it out slightly slower so that I can stall the screen out for when Makuhita hits the field. Unfortunately, my second Absorb gets a critical hit and knocks it out, so yeah, he's going to have a screen for the first turn. However, I'm still doing enough damage so I can take it out. Finally, I've earned myself my second badge, but the third might still be very far away. To pop over the threshold to level 35, I train against some wild Pokemon, and now I think that I'll be able to beat Watson. Please! Voltorb moves first and hits a Shockwave, and then I knock it out. Electrike's next, and it also moves first. I could have swear that I was moving first last time. Feels kind of strange. Anyways, maybe my nature should have boosted my speed after all. I get back to Magneton, and while I'm doing more damage, it still isn't enough, and Watson's able to Super Potion to heal. What I really need here is for Bullet Seed to line up and get a good number of hits when Magneton is at orange health. That way, Watson won't get to use a Super Potion. However, I don't get it, and Ludicolo goes down again. Okay, so I'm level 35. I really don't want to grind in the wild anymore. Maybe I'll be able to get through him if I try a couple more times. However, in the next fight, I forgot to switch off the Macho Brace, so I go down again. With the Miracle Seed, things aren't much better. Magneton is just still taking way too little damage. This is getting really old. Ludicolo, I know that you can do it. Maybe level 38 is what I need. I certainly hope so. After all, there isn't really any good place for me to train, so I'm stuck leveling up on wild Pokemon, and this takes forever. I raise Ludicolo to level 37, and then decide to use my only rare candy to boost it to level 38 and try Watson again. I save before using the rare candy, so if I need to, I can reset and train to level 39, and then use the rare candy to take Ludicolo to level 40. Because of a critical hit, I'm able to take the Voltorb out in 2 turns, and now at this level, Electrike is a 3-hit. Alright, that's good. Okay, Magneton, please just miss Supersonic like 80 times in a row. My first Bullet Seed crits, and I get 3 hits, taking Magneton to just above half health. He uses Thunder Wave, paralyzing Ludicolo, and I can't heal it because I'm using the Miracle Seed. Despite the paralysis, my next Bullet Seed hits and takes Magneton to orange. That isn't low enough for Watson to use another Super Potion though, so this might be the luck that I need. I'm paralyzed on the next turn, but following that, Bullet Seed hits enough times and Magneton goes down. Yes, I have made it to the Manectric with green health. Things are looking good, but paralysis still could ruin my day. Watson selects Howl on the first turn, and Bullet Seed only hits twice. Looks like I'm going to need 2 more turns to knock it out. Paralysis prevents an attack, and now the damage is starting to stack up. Shockwave hits, taking Ludicolo to 27 hit points, and that looks like I'm only going to survive 1 or 2 more of those. Bullet Seed takes Manectric back into orange. I really didn't think this was the range for a Super Potion, but Watson uses one, almost fully healing the Electric Doggo. Okay, come on, I really need to be able to knock it out here. If I fail, I'm going to be so sad. I think I might just attempt this fight several more times to try and get the luck, because this will be faster than grinding in the wild at this level. However, Ludicolo is able to connect with the Manectric again, and it gets 3 hits from Bullet Seed, so I take it out. I've finally earned myself the Dynamo badge, and with it, a 10% boost to Ludicolo's speed. Generally, I dislike saving after important battles because it feels like a waste of time, but today I'm going to do this. I do not want to have to do that battle again at all. I'm so glad that I'm not doing a second playthrough. I'm done with Watson for today. I'm sure I'll have to do this playthrough again in the future, though. Now, it's finally time to head north. I dodged some trainers, I failed to dodge some other trainers, and finally I take way too long to find a Meryl. I have a brief run-in with Team Aqua and Magma, and then I make my way up the gondola hoping to see a hiker. Not today apparently, because he's slacking off in Kanto. At the top of the mountain, I face Maxie. By the way, on this terrain, nature power is Rock Slide. I'm not sure it's going to be useful though, because Ludicolo gets hit by an Intimidate before the battle even starts. Oh look, my stage modifiers aren't showing up. I guess that's another bug with the software that needs to get worked out. Good thing we can do awesome stuff like this in post. Ta-da! Bullet Seed 3 hits Mightyena and knocks it out in a single turn. Next he sends in Zubat, and Nature Power takes care of it in a single hit. Camerupt is last. If only I could learn a water move. However, I'll just have to knock it out with Bullet Seed for now. Quite frustrating. It takes a while, especially because Maxie uses a Super Potion. Apparently everyone has Super Potions in these games, except me. Thanks, rules. Camerupt finally goes down, and I'm moving on to Flannery. Her lead is Numel, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I try for Bullet Seed, but unfortunately it only lands twice, giving Flannery time to set up Sunny Day. She heals with a Hyper Potion, of course she does, but this time Bullet Seed 4 hits and that takes the Numel out anyways. Slugma's next, and it's pretty bad. Nature Power Swift takes it out in a single hit. Bullet Seed hits 5 times, with the final one scoring a crit, taking Camerupt down to red. But as is customary in Hoenn, she heals it with a potion, and I have to take it out over the next 3 turns. Luckily, she's used Overheat once, so I think she sees that Tackle is doing more damage now, since Camerupt has a special attack drop. Now, it's time for Ace Torkoal. Bullet Seed does so little. Uh-oh, this feels like another Magneton situation. And then 2 Overheats burn Ludicolo up. Okay, so I thought this run was going to make me like this thing, but right now I'm a little bit frustrated. To improve my odds against her, I can teach Ludicolo's secret power in the place of Astonish, because on this terrain it has a 30% chance to paralyze. This might give me the advantage that I need against her. I used Bullet Seed on the Numble, but I should have been using secret power. After all, it's a 1 hit on the Slugma, it probably would have been on the Numble as well. I used secret power on the following Camerupt, and it does so much damage. Well, I guess because of a crit. Still, it's going to be a guaranteed 2-hit. After a potion, I finish it off and move on to Torkoal. Alright, it looks like I'm doing about 1/5, maybe optimistically 1/4. Torkoal paralyzes Ludicolo, and while I bring it down to orange health, Flannery still wins. What this fight is going to come down to is paralysis luck against Torkoal. If I'm the one that paralyzes it first, my chances of winning are higher, and if it's the one that paralyzes me, then she's probably going to win. However, in the very next fight, I get the luck that I need and I take the turtle out. Alright, my sombrero-wearing duck can finally celebrate. I'm through what hopefully is going to be the hardest part of the game, hopefully. I head to the desert, grab a rare candy. After that, I backtrack through the middle of the map, grabbing strength on my way. And then I defeat the trainers in Norman's gym. Alright, Dad, let's do this. Spin does first, and I use secret power, taking it to half and paralyzing, which prevents it from moving. Alright, so that's a great way to take care of his first Pokemon. Vigoroth's next. I go for secret power, it does half, but it doesn't do much in return. I use Bullet Seed on the next turn and that knocks it out. Okay, so far so good. Things are looking very promising. Secret power once again paralyzes the Linoon and allows me to take it out for free. All that's left is his ace, Slacking. Wait a second, I just realized something. Does Norman have a Slacking because they're saying that he's slacking off at his job as a father? Anyways, I go for secret power turn 1 in the hopes that it will paralyze, but it doesn't, and Slacking goes for counter. Alright, I should have gone for Bullet Seed first turn and then secret power on the second turn. I need to remember to play around counter here. On the next turn I get a 5-hit with Bullet Seed, and that takes the Slacking down to orange health. It's loafing around, I get another hit in, but then it strikes with Facade, and Norman heals with a Hyper Potion. These potions, so frustrating. Like, this game is harder just because the leaders have potions. If we gave all the leaders potions in, no, they'd probably still be bad. They do stuff like Blaine. Never mind, let's continue. Things are not looking good now. I am able to take it down to orange health, but it knocks me out with another Facade. So I'm able to make it back to the Slacking, but last time I made it through the first 3 Pokemon without taking much damage. This time I'm in much worse shape, and that leads to a second loss. Instead of taking the Miracle Seed in, what if I brought in an Oran Berry to hopefully heal Ludicolo a little bit? Unfortunately, this still doesn't guarantee that I arrive at the Slacking with good health. At Linoon, I decide to use Absorb to try and heal myself as much as possible. Against Slacking, I get put to sleep, but I do manage to get Paralysis, and I do take it down to red health. But it still manages to finish me off. But this is close. Maybe I can do it? However, in the next fight, Linoon beats Ludicolo up so much, and I go into Slacking with red health. So my hope is starting to get crushed now. I've already used my Oran Berry, so this fight's over. I'm gonna need a new strategy. If we examine Ludicolo's move pool, let's see if it has anything available to it at this point that's gonna help. Ice Beam and Rain Dance would be nice, but they're on the abandoned ship, and I need Surf to get there. Giga Drain is obtained after Winona. Brick Break is only obtainable in Sutopolis City, and I have to defeat Norman to get Surf. So I think my best option now is to obtain TM27, and to do that I have to return to a prior area of the game, so I lose a lot of time to backtracking. Luckily, all the training that Ludicolo has done while it's been struggling through the game has raised its friendship enough that now Return is a 98 base power move. That's almost maxed, 102 is the maximum value. Will this let me beat Norman? Let's find out. He gets some good luck with Teeter Dance to start the fight off, and that's pretty unfortunate. While I was backtracking to obtain return, I actually thought of a slightly different strategy though, so let's implement it. If I use Secret Power twice in a row on Vigoroth, it survives on red health, and that forces Norman to use one of his Hyper Potions on it, instead of on the Slacking. I'm pretty sure that he's hard-coded to only use one potion per Pokemon. After that, I can knock the Vigoroth out, and then on the following Linoon, I could repeat this process if I want. But in this situation, my health is so low and I'm feeling desperate. I try for Absorb to heal the damage, but unfortunately it isn't enough, and that's another loss. In the next fight, I knock the Linoon out, and I make it to the Slacking. But I forget that it has counter and I use Secret Power on the first turn. Whoops. I guess this is not the victory that I was looking for. At least Return is dealing decent damage. Now I think I've pretty much figured this fight out. I can use Secret Power on the first turn to paralyze the Spinda, hopefully, and then knock it out with Return. After that, I can take the Vigoroth and Linoon out, forcing Norman to use Hyper Potions, and then face the Slacking when it can't heal. The other option to this fight would be to go in and just knock everything out in 2 hits and get to the Slacking as fast as possible. In this case, I go with the first option, and I try to avoid counter turn 1 with Absorb. Then every turn when the Slacking is loafing around, I can use Return to deal massive damage. In this battle, Ludicolo gets taken to red health, so I try for Secret Power in case of paralysis, but it doesn't work, and that's another loss. Alright, I'll try the other approach to the fight, and if that doesn't work, then I'll level up to 43 for better damage rounding. I knock out the first 2 Pokemon in 2 hits, but on the Linoon, I decide to go for Absorb first turn because I want to heal back to full. Now, it's time for the Slacking. I use Absorb first turn, and it goes for Yawn. I find it strange that it has this move because Sleep is not particularly good when it's only attacking every 2 turns. Like, it's giving me all the time I need to wake up. However, the fact that I'm asleep does mess with my internal timer, and I use Absorb on the wrong turn. However, despite that, things are still looking good for me until the Slacking uses Facade and takes Ludicolo down to 7 hit points. Alright, I still might have this though, because it's going to be loafing around. I hit with Return, and it doesn't quite get the KO. But I still move first on the next turn, and with that, Norman is no more. I've earned myself the Balance Badge and a 10% boost to my defense stat. Finally, after all of this, Ludicolo can learn Surf, its first stab water move. I am so glad to have this. It's really nice to have a high base power, 100% accurate stab move for once. Alright, I think from here, Ludicolo is going to speed up in its progress through the game. Let's do this. Now it's time to grab some important items. I surf past Dewford to the abandoned ship and pick up the TM for Ice Beam. I'll have to come back here later for Rain Dance because it requires Dive. After that I make my way through Slateport City and grab some TMs for Hidden Power. I didn't know this before, but after you've obtained Secret Power for the first time, this TM shop appears and you can buy both of the TMs. I thought that the Hidden Power TM was not purchasable here until you obtained it in Fort Tree City. But that's not the case, so I can have access to it before Norman if I really want. I crush the Aqua members in the Weather Institute and earn myself the reward, the Mystic Water. This gives a 10% boost to Water-type moves. Obviously, that makes Surf an extremely powerful move for Ludicolo to use. I get my first chance to do so against Brendan, and this fight's incredibly easy. Now, it's time to move on to Winona. When I started this challenge, I thought that Watson was going to be the hardest gym leader, but I thought Winona was going to be a close second. After my experiences with Flannery and Norman, I'm really hoping that that isn't the case. Swablu's first, and this thing has Perish Song, so I need to be careful. Luckily, Ice Beam is super effective and it takes it out in a single hit. Next is Pelipper, and this thing is so annoying because it knows Protect. Yep, of course it goes for it first turn. Return doesn't one-shot, and as a result, Pelipper is able to confuse Ludicolo with Supersonic. They truly just said, how can we make the most trolly Pokemon ever, and then they made this thing. I hate it. Despite the confusion, I still hit on the next turn and knock it out. Skarmory is next, and as a Steel type, none of my moves are particularly good against it, so Surf with the same type attack bonus and Mystic Water is obviously the best choice. It takes it out in a single hit. Tropius takes 4 times damage with Ice Beam, so it's easy to finish off after I finally snap out of confusion. After all that, Winona only has Altaria left. It takes 4 times damage from Ice Beam, so that's it! She was an incredibly easy victory. I did not expect that. I head south and collect items along the way. First is a rare candy, next a Persimberry, press him? Purse him, I think. I think that's what it is. Tell me in the comments. And then a second rare candy, and finally the TM for Giga Drain. This move is a really nice addition to Ludicolo's moveset, giving it recovery, but since it's a draining move, its PP is pretty small. Now I'm off to do some story stuff, and while I was doing this section of the game, an interesting question crossed my mind. Which one is longer, the Rocket plotline in Generation 2 or the storyline of Emerald? I think that the answer is actually the plot in Emerald, but for whatever reason it just feels like it's less bad, less tedious. Maybe it's the improved visuals, I'm not sure. Maxi at the end of the Magma Hideout is a complete joke to finish off, and after which I stomp my way through the Aqua Hideout and defeat Matt. Alright, now it's story time. When I filmed my Swampert video, I really wanted to utilize the Shell Bell because of its amazing effect. If you don't know, it's a held item that allows the user to recover 1/8 of the damage dealt. I was intending to do a second playthrough and use it against trainers like Phoebe and Steven. I even completed this second playthrough up until Shoal Cave. And then I realized that I couldn't get my emulator to reset the time of day. And as a result, the Shoal Bell was unobtainable. Like, I tried to do it for like 2 days and I could not figure it out. Luckily, I filmed Swampert a long time ago. As you can see from the overlay, that overlay is very outdated compared to this one. So I've since figured out how to make my emulator reset the time of day, and that makes me able to obtain the Shell Bell today. With it, I've never been so prepared for Tate and Liza. Can Ludicolo defeat the hardest gym battle on its first attempt? Tate and Liza start with Xatu and Claydol. And I want to mention here an interesting fact about using moves that hit multiple Pokemon at the same time. By the way, thanks for commenting about this in my last video. For example, when I use Surf and it hits both of their Pokemon, its damage is cut by 50%. That means that the total amount of damage dealt is the same, but it's spread across 2 Pokemon. We can see that here where Ludicolo's Surf deals half to each of the Pokemon on its first hit. I keep going on the second turn and knock the Claydol out, but the Xatu survives. The Shell Bell is keeping Ludicolo very healthy right now, and honestly I think this item might be better than the TM for Rest. I can't believe that I'm saying that. Next, I can anticipate that they're going to use a Hyper Potion on Xatu, so I use Giga Drain on Lunatone. Turns out it does enough damage to take it out in a single hit. I wasn't expecting that. It gets replaced with Soul Rock, and I use Giga Drain again, achieving the exact same result. All that's left now is the Xatu, but it's getting pretty buff because it keeps using Calm Mind. Luckily for me, super effective Ice Beam does more than half, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to win now. By the way, I just want to mention here that you will have noticed that my move's powers have been updating dynamically in the bottom center throughout the video. The way this works is it applies the type effectiveness to the move's power to give us an estimate of how effective that move will be against the opponent. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to implement this in duel battles, so it's always just using slot 1 of the enemy's team. That's why things look really funky right now. Anyways, the Xatu goes down, and that's it. Ludicolo did it on its first attempt. I can't believe it. Alright, you happy little sombrero-wearing duck with a poncho, I think you're winning me over. It was rough at the start, especially because I really didn't like you, but things are swiftly swimming along now. Surf makes the double battle with Steven in the Space Center. It's called the Space Center, right? Is that right? I don't know. Anyways, this battle's super easy. I collect a couple of items, set Rayquaza free, and grab the TM for Brick Break. Now, it's time for Juan. Because of my typing, I'm expecting this fight to be pretty easy. Turn 1, I choose Return, and it easily takes care of the Love Disc. Next is Wish Cash, and as a Water Ground type it takes 4 times damage from Giga Drain, so that's another easy KO. CeeLo comes out next, and it's got the Ice type, which doesn't help it resist any of my moves. Just to save PP, I use Return twice to take it out. And then Juan sends in Kingdra. The reason that this thing is pretty terrifying is that it knows Double Team. Hopefully I can take it out quickly before it gets too set up. I go for Ice Beam turn 1, just in case it freezes, but I don't, and Kingdra gets set up with 1 turn of Double Team. Instead of trying Ice Beam again, I switch into Return, hoping it'll do more damage, but Kingdra survives and uses Rest. Okay, this is not looking good. Wait, it's a Resto Chesto Kingdra? Are you kidding me? I try Return again, it does about 1/3, and Juan continues the Double Team setup. With such small PP on moves like Giga Drain, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to last long enough to defeat him if he gets more setup. Ludicolo still gets a hit in occasionally, but Juan gets to use a Hyper Potion. This is all starting to feel very hopeless. And then Juan freezes with Ice Beam. Just great. Now, in Generation 1, this would be an instant loss, but in Generation 3, I can defrost. Oh, look, it happens right away. Giga Drain hits, and oh my, it does so much, taking Kingdra down to red health thanks to a critical hit. Okay, now I can do this. Unfortunately, Juan uses another Hyper Potion, fully healing Kingdra again. This is really not fun. However, Ludicolo aims really well and hits return, followed by a Giga Drain, taking it back down to red health. Okay, I think I got this up. Oh yeah, it can use rest. I miss one Ice Beam, and then the next two hit, doing half each, and Kingdra goes down! All that's left is Crawdaunt, however I am running very low on PP. I really don't want to have to knock this thing out with Surf. However, Ice Beam gets the job done, and I've defeated Juan. I was really excited about this victory, especially because I thought that things were going to fall apart after Kingdra started to set up. So it's great to be able to move on. I backtrack to the abandoned ship and grab the TM for Rain Dance, and then I defeat Wally in Victory Road. He's always easy here. And then I make it to Evergrande City. Before I battle the Elite Four, I fly to Pacifidlog Town and pick up a second TM for return. This way I can replace it on my moveset to take Brick Break into Sydney and Glacia. So, Ludicolo had a rough start, struggling to get by the first 5 gym leaders. But since Norman has been feeling quite dominant, will this strong performance continue, or do the members of the league have ways to stop it? Let's see. Sydney's first, and he leads with Mightyena, which drops my attack immediately with Intimidate. I go for Brick Break because it is super effective, but it only does half. Alright, I really should have used Surf. Unfortunately, that means I get hit by Sand Attack before I take his lead down. Next, he sends in his ace, Absol, and while Ludicolo misses its first hit, Absol raises its attack sharply with Swords Dance. I miss again, and Sydney takes a quick victory. Okay, there's an easy fix here, just use Surf on the Mightyena, and obviously it takes it out in a single hit. He still sends in Absol next, but I continue using Surf and take out the Disaster Dog with a single hit as well. That's 2 for 2. Shift Tree's next. I guess I'm going to have to do a playthrough with this one very soon too. I really don't like its aesthetic either. I use Ice Beam, and it takes it out in a single hit. Cacturn's no different, and Crawdaunt comes out last. It's kind of weird that the last gym leader has a Crawdaunt, and then Sydney has a Crawdaunt. Oh well. But I use Giga Drain, and that's it. Sydney was very easy. I'm actually quite embarrassed about the first loss against him after the second fight. Phoebe's next, and one thing to worry about against her is that the first Dusclops knows Curse. Also, it's really annoying because it knows Protect, and it uses it to sap away at your PP. After all, it can't stay very high when it's under pressure. Luckily, Surf is doing more than half, and so it's able to finally take it out when it stops protecting itself. However, I have lost a lot of PP in the process. Banette's next, and unfortunately Surf doesn't get the one hit, and that allows it to use Will-O-Wisp, causing a burn. I wanted to heal by using Giga Drain, but accidentally clicked Brick Break, which obviously does nothing. That lets Phoebe get in a few additional hits, and then by the time Sableye comes out, I'm pretty sure that I can't win this fight anymore. Maybe if I get really lucky? She does heal with a full restore and give me a bit more health because I can heal with Giga Drain. The final Dusclops comes out and Ludicolo and it go head to head for a while. I get it down to red health, but it's not quite enough. So there's another really easy solution here. I replace Brick Break with Hidden Power Dark and use it against the ghosts for super effective damage. Still, it isn't doing much more to the Dusclops. It's probably just fine to use Surf here. The first Banette then uses a move called Grudge, and I had no idea what this move does, so I switch into Giga Drain to heal a little bit, and then I realized that Grudge drains the move's entire PP in a single turn. Absolutely brutal. Erica would be jealous. I crit on the next turn, and that gives me the momentum that I need to knock the final Dusclops out. Now I'm proceeding to Glacia. And this battle is going to be pretty easy. I can't hype this up at all. Giga Drain's going to take care of the CeLo line, and Surf is going to take care of Glalie. Wall Rain is a bit of a wild card, and does get very annoying because it freezes Ludicolo. Still, even with that awful luck, I'm able to take a first attempt victory. Now, the lack of hype continues because Drake is going to be pathetic against Ludicolo. The only Pokemon that I'm really worried about here is Salamence. After all, it is a flying type, so it has the potential to do massive damage. First, I have to get there though. Shelgon's a one-hit, Altaria is a one-hit, Ice Beam looks like it's doing just over a third to Kingdra. I can't knock it out fast enough to prevent a full restore, so it does take 5 turns total. Unfortunately, Drake takes a page out of Claire's book and uses Smokescreen once before Kingdra goes down, so that accuracy drop could mess me up against the Salamence. Ice Beam hits Flygon and gets the one hit, and now it's the moment of truth. Ludicolo aims its Ice Beam and hits, taking care of Salamence in a single hit. So I've done it. I've made it all the way to the champion. It's time for Wallace. Okay, Mr. Personification of 7.8 out of 10, too much water. Let's do this. Wailord's first. I go for Giga Drain right away, and it gets a one hit because of a critical hit. Alright, good luck so far. Tentacruel's next. It seems like I don't have a good move against this thing. I decide on Ice Beam just in case it freezes, but it doesn't, and the jellyfish strikes back with Sludge Bomb, doing more than half. Ouch. Oh great, it also poisoned me. Well, now I need a different strategy because this isn't gonna work. The second TM for Return is gonna be perfect here. After all, Hidden Power Dark is pretty useless against water Pokemon. Unfortunately, Return isn't doing half to Tentacruel, and that gives it time to badly poison Ludicolo. I need a way to heal that, so the obvious choice here is my favorite move, Rest. With Rest, I can heal the poison after knocking Tentacruel out with Return. I find it strange that Wallace doesn't try to save it, like he doesn't even use a potion on it. Poor Tentacruel, you deserved better. Milotic's next, and it knows Ice Beam, which freezes Ludicolo. I manage to defrost and continue the fight. Giga Drain gets a big critical hit, and I move on to the mirror match. Unless his Ludicolo sets up double team too many times, I should be able to finish it with Return. Yep, it falls, and Whiscash is next. Like whiskers. I got that from the comments, thanks so much. I have no idea why I use Surf against it. Giga Drain is so much better. 95 effective power versus 240 effective power. Last is Gyarados. Okay, I think I've got this. I go for Giga Drain to heal a little bit, and then I start using Return. Wallace sets up Dragon Dance 3 times, and just as I'm about to knock the Gyarados out, he starts attacking with a boosted Hyper Beam, which just destroys Ludicolo. Well, that's not good, and it continues. I fail here 3 more times before I made the decision to use some rare candies. I like to save these as long as possible just because Steven is brutal and I want to be able to level up as much as possible for him. But I'm so close anyways and I need to get through this fight. Perhaps if I go over 2 damage rounding thresholds, I'll get better results. Maybe this lets Ludicolo one-hit the Wailord? Yep, looks like that's possible now. Perhaps I can 2-hit the Tentacruel with Return now. Oh, it looks like it's actually going to survive the second hit. And it does. However, after a full restore, I get 2 more returns in, and they roll better damage, securing the 2-hit this time. Alright, that's good to know that it is a possibility. Milotic time. The unfortunate thing about it is that it loves to use Recover after it's taken some damage. What I'm really looking for here is a situation where I crit with Giga Drain and I'm able to knock it out. It doesn't take too long, and then I get it. His Ludicolo goes down without putting up too much of a fight. I Giga Drain to one-hit the Whiscash, and Gyarados is all that's left. Return does a quarter, Gyarados uses Earthquake, which is, I guess, better for me than having it set up. My second return takes it under half, and it uses Dragon Dance? Like, okay, whatever. However, then it switches back into Earthquake, before Wallace then uses a full restore. Like, Wallace, you're playing like me. So indecisive. Just pick a strat, and don't change your mind. Seriously, things go badly when you, divert from the strategy mid-fight. I decide to go for my final Giga Drain just to heal a little bit more health, and it crits. And that's it. Gyarados goes down. Ludicolo finishes the league in a real time of 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 2 seconds, with 26 resets at level 66, all of which took 8 hours and 48 minutes of game time. However, the strongest opponent is still left. It's time to face Steven Stone. First is Skarmory. Surf crits and takes it out in a single hit. Steven sends in Armaldo next. I use Surf again, redeeming myself for my play with Swampert, but unfortunately the Ground Steel type survives. It's Ground Steel, right? Look at its armor plating. Clearly it's a Steel type. Oh wait, it uses Aerial Ace. Okay, Steel Flying, just like Skarmory. Steven heals it with a full restore before my next Surf, however, that doesn't save it because I strike again and knock it out. Claydol time. This thing is very annoying because it likes to set up Light Screen, and now the Metagross is taking very little damage from my special attacks. I'll try to stall it with Rest and wait out the Light Screen. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out and Ludicolo goes down. I'm going to use rare candies to take me all the way up to level 70. At the higher level, without a crit, Surf takes the Skarmory out over 2 turns. Armaldo's now a consistent 1-hit, and it just looks like I'm barely shy of knocking the Claydol out. For whatever reason, Steven doesn't choose to heal his ace this time, and it falls, and he sends out Aggron next. Because it looks like Rhydon, I use Giga Drain, but it doesn't do very much because this thing's actually a Rock Steel type. Or is it Steel Rock? I don't know which order it's in. Anyways, it can't punish me with Earthquake though, so I survive and take it out. Cradley's next. As a kid, I never found this thing particularly challenging to deal with, but now it's becoming one of the strongest Pokemon on Steven's team to defeat. It uses Confuse Ray, and Ludicolo smashes itself into oblivion. I lose to Metagross one more time, and then I use all my rare candies, taking Ludicolo up to level 72. And then Skarmory's Toxic polishes me off in the next battle against Metagross. Okay, it's time for an improvement of strategy, and this is a viewer suggestion. Seriously, I do read all the comments. Programming and designing the overlay, which is something I've done myself, and getting GameHook to read the Generation 3 games has consumed so much of my time lately, so I'm a bit behind on them, but I really do promise that I'm going to catch up and heart everyone's comments. Don't worry. Anyways, you suggested that I teach my Pokemon Substitute, because in this game, it's a move tutor move. Can't even imagine if this was the case in Generation 1. Ludicolo is obviously the perfect fit for this move, especially with the Shell Bell, Rest, and Giga Drain. I'm also going to stop by Victory Road and smash Wally once so that I level up to level 67. This way, all 6 of my rare candies push Ludicolo over the next damage rounding threshold and gives me the best chance of defeating Steven. Is this going to be enough? Well, Skarmory's a 2-hit now, and it gets Toxic off before going down. Armaldo's next, and it doesn't go down. Okay, whoops, I forgot my rare candies. That's a silly reset. Let's try again. This time, Skarmory's still a 2-hit, and it goes for Aerial Ace before falling. That's really annoying, it did a lot of damage. At least Armaldo faints in a single hit. Claydol's next, and because it loves using Earthquake, I can set up Substitute and stall it out. It's going to run out of Earthquake PP quickly enough. After that, I just need to time things out in the battle so Metagross won't have Light Screen, and I'll have a Substitute. This takes a bit of time. By the way, this is my first time ever using Substitute in Generation 3. It's so cool that 2 decades after playing these games for the first time, I'm still getting new experiences out of them. I think that's why we all love these games so much. Finally, I knock the Claydol out and Metagross is next. No Light Screen means it's going to be a 3-hit. It breaks my Substitute, Steven heals, and it strikes back with a final Psychic. I would have fainted there if I didn't have a Substitute. Aggron's next. I want to heal and also do damage, so I use Giga Drain. I know it's slower, but I might as well. I want as much health for the Cradley after all. And then the strategy here is simple. Set up Substitute, which allows me to avoid Confuse Ray, and then I can stall it out if I have to. It has Ancient Power and Giga Drain after all. However, it doesn't break my Substitute fast enough, and I can just knock it out with Surf. So Ludicolo's done it. It beat Pokemon Emerald in 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 32 seconds of real time, with 31 resets at level 74, and all of this took 9 hours and 18 minutes of game time. Now, I'm going to do some casual comparisons at the end of these Emerald videos, and show my playthroughs in a leaderboard. While I'm learning the game, these results won't be incredibly accurate. It's going to take many months before I'm ready to implement my ranking conventions that I use in Generation 1 and Generation 2. Comparing Ludicolo to Swampert, it completed the game faster with less resets, and it took pretty much the same game time. Swampert was also 3 levels higher. Now it's worth noting I did film Swampert many months ago and my play wasn't as good. Also, I got very frustrated during that playthrough, and so I got very hard-headed when facing Steven because I was so frustrated. Another factor is that in the Swampert video I started with Mudkip, whereas here I started immediately with Ludicolo. I'm sure things would play out very differently for Swampert if I started fully evolved. I could certainly improve both their playthroughs, however right now it's my hypothesis that when I do go back and improve both their playthroughs, Ludicolo is likely going to come out on top. What do you think? Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, and comment because I gotta read them all. Thanks to my patrons for their support. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. Now, it's bloopers time. My first use of Bullet Sleep. Come on. Either way, the potion doesn't really matter this time because Ludicolo knocks the Machop out without dealing any damage. Either way, the potion, that's not what I want. It's like, it definitely deals damage to knock the Machop out. I'm not sure it's going to be useful though because Ludicolo gets hit by an Intimidate right before the battle starts. burp. Great. Ruined my line. To improve my odds against Flannery, I teach Ludicolo's secret power in the place of Astonish, because on this terrain it has a 30... Come on. Wait a second, I just realized something. Does Norman have a slacking because they're slaying that he... They're slaying, yes, that's what they're doing. Norman's probably slaying, actually. That's why he's off in Petalburg. He's like, I don't want to be home with my family. This is like a dark joke. Let's do something else. And Brick Break is only obtainable in Stutopolis City. It's Stutopolis City. Come on. Stupopolis. I used to call it that as a kid, and I'm never going to stop calling it that. I just see that word, I'm like, Stupopolis. It's like stupid city. However, the fact that I'm asleep misses with my internal timer. I thought that hidden power, that's so hard. Turn 1, I choose return, and it easily takes care of the love disc. Come on. He still sends in Absol next, but I just continue using Surf, and that takes out the Disaster Dog. Also, it's really annoying because it likes to spam Protect and sap your PP with its ability Pressure. After all, PP does not respond well to pressure. After all, PP doesn't stay up when you're being... Also, it's really annoying because it uses Protect, and after all, PP can't stay up when you're under pressure. Luckily, Surf is doing more than half. Also, it's also really annoying because it uses Protect, and this is so frustrating because your PP can't stay very high when you're under pressure. Luckily, no, the second one was better. The second one was better. God, I don't know how I want to phrase this joke. Sock wave, yes, sock wave. Just like a wave of socks. That's kind of terrifying, actually. If you think, are they dirty socks? If they're dirty socks, that's really terrifying. No one needs that.